What is going on, Failroaders? I'm Joshua Thomas, and if you were here for the first stream, my voice was completely cut off, so let's go for round 2 here. This is all about Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, and kind of talking about what it's going to need to succeed. And part of the reason I'm making this video is because it's been quiet, and I think I know why it's been quiet. Partially it's because of the failure of Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier, and I think they're taking what they've learned from this failure and they are going to make modifications to it, because once again I will show you guys. Let me pull up the window. There we go. Alright. Here we've got the Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis window for, the actual website. And it says the closed beta test in 2022 is supposed to be, like, it was scheduled for fall 2022. And fall is quickly coming to a close. I mean, winter starts in mid-December. And we've heard literally nothing about this closed beta that was supposed to be on iOS and Android, and there's literally nothing here on this website except for the video that was on the 25th anniversary celebration trailer that's been several months ago. And I mean, look at, say, any of these other games like Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier. The game we know now is going to fail. It's going to go quiet in January. It's got a ton of stuff on it. So where is this on Ever Crisis? We should be seeing something like this by now, but we're not. So let's switch back. We'll actually start talking about Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier first, real quick. We're just going to go over the reasons why First Soldier failed. Number one is it didn't cater to the current Final Fantasy VII audience. It just didn't. It was, Square admitted to this. They were putting this on a mobile device and trying this first-person or third-person battle royale shooter to try and get new fans into the franchise and try and entice, like, the Japanese audience, who apparently prefers to game on mobile devices more so. I don't get that, but hey, to each their own. So this was Square Enix's attempt at getting more people into the Final Fantasy VII franchise. I really don't think it was that good of an idea to sort of try and cater to a brand new audience when you already had this audience who was willing to play it. And let me know in a comment if you would have been someone who would have played this on another platform. I downloaded it on my mobile device. It's, of course, my footage you're watching here. And I've got to say that while, it wasn't catered towards us, it was still a good game. It was a decent game compared to other battle royales of this type. But then there was also the obvious problem that it wasn't multi-platform. So, we knew it was coming out on a mobile device, and I'll agree, I don't really want to play games like this on this tiny screen. I played PUBG Mobile years ago, and I quit playing it because I really didn't care. I had games on a bigger screen to play. And I will admit, though, that having First Soldier on my phone did allow me to play it in areas where I simply wasn't going to play other games. But it didn't really matter to me that much. Also, it being free to play, I'll get into that when I talk about Ever Crisis. But I think being free to play also was a huge hindrance on it, and relying on microtransactions. But I know this is the model for a lot of games. But we also have to consider that games like PUBG Mobile or PlayerUnknown Battleground and Fortnite and other games like that, they started off on, like, consoles, didn't they? They started off on consoles and PCs. before creating a mobile version, or if at all. So for Square Enix to create Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier on mobile first was probably also a big mistake. But now, let's move on to what I think would have made, or could have helped First Soldier, and what I think is going to be necessary for Ever Crisis to be successful. So number one thing, and this is in no particular order, but the first thing I'll talk about is it needs to be multi-platform. This game needs to come out on the platform that the current fans want to play this game on. It's, I've heard countless reports of, I don't want to play this on my phone, I don't want to play this on this tiny screen when I could play it on a large computer screen or a big screen TV via the PlayStation or something like that. It only makes sense to try and follow your fans that you currently have, and if this game is good, then you may entice other fans of RPGs in general who just haven't tried Final Fantasy VII yet. But once again, Final Fantasy VII Remake, I've seen so many people play Remake and go on to play the OG and become fans of the Final Fantasy franchise. They've played the OG, they've played the compilation, and they've even gone on to play other Final Fantasy games. So, once again, this needs to be a multi-platform game. And I've got a survey that I put on our FailroadExpress community tab asking you which platform you would want to play Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis on. So be sure to head there after the video. The link is in the description. And make sure you answer that question, because it would be really great for me to gather this data, and perhaps I can use this in a future video talking about, hey, look, this is what the fans want. This is what people want to play Ever Crisis on. So the next thing that is definitely needed for Ever Crisis to be successful is it needs to be a proper JRPG. And when we look at the battle footage that's going to come up here in just a few seconds, it doesn't look traditional. It looks like it's a very dumbed down version of an RPG. What we're going to see here is that when Cloud fights, he's got these what appear to be 5 options at the bottom of the screen with an ATB bar above it and then an attack button. So it's going to come here in just a second. We see Rufus attack, and then briefly we see those 5 buttons to choose from. And if that's the case, if that's what this is going to be, we need something more than this. Now, I did see that there are ability tabs on the side here, so there's a possibility that, yes, there are more abilities, but we need to make sure that we have the flexibility and the customizability that the OG and that Remake have in this game. We need to have that menu combat system and only have those, 5 characters at the bottom, maybe as sort of hotkeys or something, and then the attack button, of course. So it's got to have flexibility. It's got to play more like the original game. Not only does it need to play more like the original game, but since this is the, another possibility for a remake, according to Square Enix, it needs to follow the OG much, much better. It doesn't necessarily have to be verbatim. They can fix some of this guy R6 stuff and some of the other grammatical errors that were in the game, but overall it needs to follow the original storyline much more to a T to entice those fans of Final Fantasy VII who didn't like the remake. I think overall, more fans enjoyed it than hated it, but this game needs to be a remaster of the original, not just one that goes completely in a new direction. So it's gotta, it can't be dumbed down. It's got to have that flexibility and that combat system that JRPG players enjoy, and it needs to be like the OG. Now, this next thing I think will make Ever Crisis successful, you guys may contend with me on this. And feel free to comment and let me know, what you think about this. It needs to be pay to play. Now, I don't mean pay to play in that you've got to keep paying like a monthly fee or something, but like pay a one-time fee per chapter. Like they said in interviews that the original game portion of Ever Crisis is going to be like 10 chapters. So I would pay $1 or $2 per chapter to play the OG in Ever Crisis. That would be somewhere between $10 and $20. I mean, you can already pay that to play the OG on Steam. So paying $10 to me doesn't seem like that big of a deal. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that bad. I think, and I'll give you this example. When's the last time you went into work and said, hey, whoa, don't pay me today, guys. My service is for free today. That doesn't make any sense. And to cater to a niche audience like the Final Fantasy VII community, Final Fantasy VII is a huge game, but it could still be considered a niche. In order to recoup, what it costed to produce the game, you really do need to charge for it. So, like $10 per chapter, or $10 to play the OG, and then maybe a few more bucks here and there to download the other parts, the Before Crisis, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, and Advent Children portions of the game. Either charge per chapter or charge for each of those chunks. Call it DLC, what have you, or expansions. And you can still have the microtransactions in there, but also like lower the cost of the microtransactions. In Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier, to get the Cloud skin, it was literally like about $26 in game credits just in order to get a Cloud Strife skin and like the motorcycle or something like that. That's kind of ridiculous, paying that much just for one skin. And I get it, people do it. If I played a game for hundreds of hours, I would be willing to fork over a few bucks, especially if it was free. But charge to play it and lower the cost of skins and stuff like that. Like it doesn't seem that hard. It's going to support the game in a niche audience. And then the very last thing is it needs to be a 1-for-1 of the OG. I brushed over that a little bit, but that would just please the fans of the OG to be able to see, if you've played the Steam version, there must be like 100 different mods you could add to it. Trying to upgrade those graphics to even somewhat modern day standards. But if you look at the scenery here, this looks great. The chibi characters look great, and the atmospheres and the different locations are incredible looking for that style of artwork. So I'm looking forward to Ever Crisis coming out whenever it does, and I'm really hoping the reason that we haven't heard anything about it right now is that they are holding off because they're going to announce later, hey, look, we're putting this on PC, and then we're going to add it to PlayStation and then Xbox or whatever, or maybe they're going to start on PlayStation, as is really popular for them to do with their AAA games, and then it's going to slowly go out to other platforms as people start buying it on PlayStation and whatnot. And you know what? They can still sell it on the mobile device too if they want to do that. But the important thing here is that Ever Crisis needs to be multi-platform in order to be successful. I do believe that's why they've held off on it. My only other theory as to why we haven't heard news on it would be because they didn't want to. They didn't want Ever Crisis competing with Crisis Core Reunion, which comes out December 13th. I actually just pre-ordered mine today. So I think if they had only postponed it to prevent conflicts with Crisis Core, I think we would have heard something. I think we would have seen something on the website, whereas we still just have a blank page with outdated information. So let me know what you guys think, and don't forget to click on the link in the video description to take the survey to let us know what platform you would prefer to play Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis on. Thanks for watching. If you came back for this second live stream that actually has my audio in it, and I hope you will like and subscribe and check out more Final Fantasy VII videos along with other board game and video game videos on the FailroadExpress. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out this video talking about my predictions for what's going to come in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Check you next time, guys.